Please welcome the most charming Alaina Huffman!
Look at all the Castiels. You guys like cats? Who's a Dean girl? Who's a Sam girl? Who's a Cass girl? Alright. I always say, why choose? Can you have them all? I just want them all. Hi guys, good morning. How are you? How many of you were here yesterday? Yeah, okay, sorry, we're gonna repeat ourselves. So I always, like I was saying yesterday, I kind of start and tell a little bit about myself, but then let's just ask a lot of questions and I'll answer them. So I'm Canadian, I'm from Vancouver, where we shoot Smallville, or Supernatural, and Smallville, and Stargate. And I only work on shows that start with X. So that's kind of my career thing. I started my career, I lived in Tokyo at a young age, I was a model, and then I started acting in my early 20s when I was living in Texas. And then I moved to Los Angeles, where I've lived for the last 18 years. So it's home, even though I'm Canadian. All my kids were born in LA, and that's where we live, except for I work everywhere else in the world. So, should we ask some questions?
Maybe we can start off with what was the first show you worked on and how that came about?
Oh, thank you. Good question. The first show, I guess, in my professional career, I did a few pilots when I was a kid, but they didn't ever really go anywhere, so I won't talk about those. The first show I worked on was a show called True Calling. Did you guys ever watch that? It was on Fox with Eliza Dushku. And it was my first, it was a guest star. I was the main guest star of the episode, and that was the first thing I ever did. And then I did a series called Painkiller Jane, which was based on a comic book. I don't know if you guys saw that one, with Kristana Loken and myself. And it was one of those things where I got to LA and I lived there for a few months, and you go into all the casting rooms and you get told no a whole bunch of times, and then you finally get a job and you're like, yay, and you do your job, and then you go back to being told no a bunch of times, which is still where I'm at. That's kind of the whole business, and it's pretty much that way for all of us. No matter how successful you are, you're always in that hustle. So it's very interesting.
Does that bother you that once you're established, if you're on a show for a long time and you're like an established actress, that you still have to do readings and auditions and get a lot of no's?
It's just kind of the business. I think you just kind of become numb to it at a certain point. I literally let go of auditions. Like if I held on to every show or every movie I auditioned for that I wanted, I would be very depressed. So you really just kind of go in there, you have fun, you do your job, and then you go home and you wait for the phone to ring. And a lot of times you get really great feedback. Like for example, I was just up for a really great show and it's not going to go my way. And I sent an email to my manager yesterday and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, no, they loved you, but they're going to go a different way with that. And you can get upset about it because it could change your life, but at the same time, you're just, the other opportunities are there as well. But I don't ever feel like you're above the opportunity to sort of prove yourself. I think there's a certain point where you can take meetings and you know enough people that they trust your work. And I've actually sat in on casting sessions with actors that I know that you go, oh, you really do need to see if they can do this job because you know they're a great actor, but you don't really know if they fit the character. And so it makes sense to still have the audition process.
Are there many shows that you don't audition for? I mean, that you turn down immediately, that you say, no, this is not up my alley?
Sometimes if I feel like it's not, if I'm not going to be great at it, because you're not going to be great at every character, and you have to connect with the character, you really do, otherwise you're just kind of phoning it in. There was a point with one certain show that was in Los Angeles and they brought me in every week, and in one season, I think it was last year or the year before, the casting directors, I absolutely adore them, and I know all the producers and everything, and they would bring me in almost every episode, and they pinned me, which means put you on hold for an episode 4 times, and I was finally like, I'm not going in for them. If they want me, they can just hire me. You know, and then the show got canceled, so I'll never work on that show. But you know, it's one of those things, you just kind of never know. The other thing is a lot of times for a guest star, Supernatural was a guest star, it was just 1 episode, and turned into an arc, because they liked the character, and the fans liked the character, and they just kept writing for her. But a lot of times, you know, you go in for 1 episode, and if Supernatural uses you on 1 episode, well, they're on season 12. They're not going to use you again. So you want to kind of be particular about, you know, I only want to go in on arcs, I only want to go in on guest stars, or recurring guest stars, or series regulars, because I have kids, I need to feed them. You know, to just do it for 1 episode is not, it's not worth it.
So what was the show you enjoyed doing most?
I always say that's like choosing your favorite kid. You can't really. It's depending on the day and who's cranky. Yeah, you can. I've really enjoyed everything I've worked on. I feel like my life is like a beautiful departure from my work, and my work is a great distraction from my life. Like when I go to work, I play with my friends. Sometimes it's funny. You'll get to work and you'll sit in your trailer for a few hours, and people will be like, I'm so sorry. Like one time, and Supernatural's really efficient, but one time I was in my trailer for like 7 hours or something. I mean, they just didn't use me. And Jensen came up to me, he's like, I am so sorry, you've been sitting around. I was like, oh, I had a nap, and I read my book, and I FaceTimed my mom. I'm okay, I'm good. I mean, you don't want to do that every day, but you know, it's fun. I love to go to work. We really have a great time when we work. You know, a lot of people ask, like, how do you get any work done? Like, the guys are so goofy, and we do have a really good time, but, you know, we're all professionals. We get our work done, and you have to, because otherwise you don't get hired again. But yeah, it's I don't know, I can't really choose. We've had a great time. As somber as Stargate, who watched Stargate? A few of you? As somber as like the mood of the show was, like as soon as you called cut, it was like a laugh fest. Like we had so much fun, and the cast was so big on that show. There literally would be the cast chairs, you know, those big folding wooden chairs. They would have them set up, and if it was any of those scenes that were like in the mess hall or in the gate room or in the infirmary where there was like 10 of us, there was usually about 30 actors on set that day. And so they'd have all of the chairs out, and Peter Kalamis, who plays Brody on the show, he's a stand-up comic. So literally, like in between takes, we'd have like a 20-minute setup. No one went to their trailers, no one ate lunch in their trailers, we all ate lunch in the tents together, and we'd sit in our chairs and like just look at Peter and he'd entertain us. It was just fun, we had a good time.
Hi. We're with a bunch of people from the Belgian Supernatural family, and so my question is related to Supernatural. Throughout the past 11 seasons, who's your favorite female character and why?
Abaddon, because it's me. I actually, I shouldn't admit this, I don't watch the show. I know, look at your face, you're like, oh, I'm leaving, I'm out, I hate her. It's a big commitment. Like, I hear people that like watch the show in 2 weeks. I'm like, do you go to the bathroom? Do you eat food? Do you sleep?
Do not.
You do not, right? I know, it was funny. Someone said that to Jared. They were like, oh yeah, I just watched all the episodes. He's like, oh yeah, will it take you like a year? They were like, no, like a month. He's like, what? What's wrong with you? I mean, I'm so grateful. There's a lot of cool female characters. I don't know if you guys saw, I posted this not too long ago, but it was either Entertainment Weekly or TV Guide posted a thing of the supernatural women, and there was a lot of them, and the show gets a lot of flack for being misogynistic and like killing off female characters that are popular and blah blah blah. But most of the 16 characters that they posted, only like 5 of us are dead. So there's a lot of female characters that are still around. They're just not writing for them, and at the end of the day, the show is about, you know, 2 brothers and their relationship. But I love Rowena. I love Ruth. She's a really good friend of mine. I hope they do something really cool with Billy the Reaper, because Lisa Berry is one of my dearest friends. I mean, Charlie was a great character. I love Felicia Day. there's some really, like, everybody's cool. I think there's some really good characters. I liked my character a lot.
If this was an episode of Supernatural and Abaddon was right here, what would you do? Also, this girl is gonna kill me, but she's your biggest fan.
If Abaddon was here, I'd run, I'd hide, I don't know, she's crazy. Maybe I'd try and talk to her. Maybe, I think she might be reasonable. I don't know. Ish, yeah. I definitely don't relate to her. People are like, do you relate to her? I'm like, no. She's like an evil demon. I'm not. She's cool though, like I have to say, she kind of takes on her own self. Like she kind of created herself. As soon as like I step into costume or even when I like get off the plane to go to work and be her, it's like I walk different, I talk different, like my whole everything is different. It's kind of cool. Hi.
Hi. If you were a normal human being traveling with Sam and Dean, how long do you think you would survive with them?
That's a good question. Like doing what they do? Well, they're not really that great at relationships, are they? I don't think that would be interesting. I think you'd be like, dude, you guys are weird with all your stuff in your trunk. I wouldn't last. I think I'd be like, you have commitment issues, I'm out. I don't know.
Is there any show on now that you think I'd like to be part of that?
Vikings. Do you guys watch Vikings? No? Who watches it? It's so good, right? I just want to have my hair braided and wear those cool costumes and fight. I like the like female empowerment of that show. It's really cool. Of course, Game of Thrones is great. Honestly, I have 4 kids. I never get to watch TV. I started watching Stranger Things, Jessica Jones. There's a lot of shows that I really would love to watch, but I fell asleep. I just didn't have time to watch TV. I like to read though.
What sort of things?
Right now I'm reading a lot of like kind of empowerment books, spiritual things. I like Brene Brown, and I just saw Malika Chopra speak at an event, so I've just got her new book that I'm reading, stuff like that. I like Dan Brown, he's one of my favorites. Angels and Demons is one of my favorite books.
Did you see the movie?
I did. I like it as much as the book, of course.
So you like it as much as
I don't like it as much as the book. I thought the book was great.
Hello. What is your favorite or your best memories of Stargate Universe?
In the beginning, the Air, part 1, 2, and 3, the pilot, if you remember, we all like go through the gate and we get like thrown onto the Destiny, and Colonel Young, Louis, gets like tossed across the room. And so, being the medic and his like love interest, I watched over him. So basically for like almost 3 full episodes, he's laid there on the ground and I looked at him. That was like what we had to do. And that pilot, the 3 episodes, took almost a month to shoot. So that's what we did for like a month. So Louis is like a 5-year-old. He had a fart machine, you know, that makes the noises. So literally we just like would go around and prank people all day long. And he'd like put on the fart machine and it was like, we were all new, we were all getting to know each other, and it was hilarious to see people's reactions. Because, you know, people hear it, but they don't say anything, and then some people say things, it's hilarious. I laughed, I was like a child, I cried every day on that whole show. Again, as somber as like the mood was on that show, I've never laughed so much in my life. We had so much fun. It was so good.
I'm currently at season 9 from Supernatural, but I'm not at the end of it. But who do you prefer, like in Hell, Crowley or you?
Me? What do you mean? I don't understand why they did a whole like campaign thing. Like, I don't understand why we couldn't work together. You know, have some diplomacy. I don't know. I mean, I won't spoil it, but Crowley's still around, so I guess he won. He offered virgins, so I mean, I couldn't beat that, I guess. That's a big draw, I guess, for people. The Donald Trumps of the world. Oh.
Are we going to go there?
No, we're not going there. I'm so done with politics.
It's a good thing we only have time for one more question.
Yeah.
When you played Abaddon, she's a very powerful woman, so did it feel empowering for yourself to play such a mighty role?
Yeah, again, she really took on her own character, and the one thing I will say, when you, like, it's fun to play those types of characters, and she was really fun, but there's no depth, there's no layers, and as an actor and a performer, you look for elements and layers and levels, you know, because as humans, we have all these types of emotions, and when you're just like can smite anybody, and when you're bad, and it's fun for you to be bad, and she said some really gnarly things, like biting into a baby and having its blood drip down your chin, like that's disgusting and horrible, and there's just, I can see where they wouldn't go any further with her. Like, to me, the storyline that's more interesting is Josie, because Josie's a human being, she's a woman. She was a woman in a time where there was a glass ceiling for women, she wanted to break that glass ceiling. So to me, that's the more empowering role. Abaddon was sort of this badass you couldn't touch. You know, Crowley, to give him longevity and to make him, you know, deep, they brought him to the brink of humanity. You have to, because that's emotion, that's layer, that's content. There's no real content. And that's why, you know, everyone complains about these demons dying, but there's nowhere to go with them. They're just bad. They have no levels, they have no layers. So as much as I loved Abaddon, to me the only interesting, you know, aspect, or to create longevity, you have to create layers. And I looked for that. In Mother's Little Helper was where my backstory was, and where we could find out about Josie and sort of, you know, make the audience care about her. Because otherwise, you don't care about the bad guy, you just want him to die.
Well, I think I speak for everyone in the room here that we were very happy that you were with us here in Belgium. Do come and see Alaina at her table. Ladies and gentlemen, Alaina Huffman!
Thank you guys so much.